Now, hello, my name is Timothy Clavo. I am recording this for SPCE 610 for the summer 2024 semester. This is the open-ended functional assessment interview. Prior to conducting this interview, I have looked at the client's, Kyle's, medical records to see the medical diagnosis and any other medical issues that could be affecting behaviors. I've also looked into his IEP plan to see what assessments the school has already done. And then prior to this interview, I am interviewing a paraprofessional in the kid's classroom. I made sure there was no language barriers and made sure there was no technological barriers that could interfere to make sure that we can communicate and there is no interfering things with the technology. So I'm going to begin an interview now. Hello, can you hear me, Amanda?
I can. Hello today.
Hi, how are you doing?
I can't complain, can't complain. It's been the end of a very long day, but that's how it goes.
Oh, thank you for joining me today. So we're here today to talk about Kyle. So before we begin, can you tell me just Kyle's date of birth so I can make sure it's right here?
Yeah, let me check my notes here. It looks like he was born October 2nd of 2014, and he turned 9 this year.
Awesome. And Kyle's a boy?
Yes, Kyle is a boy.
And is he fully verbal with nonverbal?
I would say he's fully verbal, maybe a little difficult to understand at times, but he can communicate.
All right. Cool. And if I read everything correctly, you're in a public school in a team
Yeah,
taught classroom?
Yes, we're in a typical public school, but we are in one of the few team taught classes here at 3rd grade, in which I'm the second teacher. I'm the parapro of the classroom, and my job is kind of to sit there and help a few of the kids that are kind of in a corner that may need some extra pushing to get their work done.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about Kyle's play skills, some of his preferred toys or activities in the classroom?
Sure. Let me think. Kyle really loves to play by himself usually. Not like he's not friendly with other kids. He is, but he does tend to play by himself. He absolutely just adores playing with the marble box that we have in our classroom. It's like this I don't know how to describe it. It's like a crate that we have that's full of marbles, and he likes to stick his hands in there super fast and pull them all up and then put his hands right back in there again. Um, he he also tends to like the kinetic sand, which sadly we're going to have to get rid of this year because of some issues with the sand not being probably not being longevity clean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess we'll see how. Well, I mean, he's not going to be here after this summer anyway, but I guess that's going to be pretty popular. Uh, but we see what else does he like. The easiest way to get him to do his work is if he is going to do it on a screen. So one of our little classroom computers that we have in the corner, or if he can borrow the classroom iPad. Loves to use the consoles, definitely. That's like his preferred things.
Right. Is there anything else that he likes?
I think that's really standing out now. He's really into Minecraft lately, but I'm pretty sure that's all of the 9-year-old boys at this point. Fortnite and Minecraft all day.
And do you know if Kyle takes any medication?
Let me check my notes. Yes, it looks like he takes some 5 milligrams of guanfacine for the dual diagnosis of ADHD and autism. I'm not sure what that is, but sure.
All right. Thank you. All right. And can you tell me what some of the problem behaviors that we're experiencing with Kyle in the classroom?
Well, it started out in the fall semester with a pretty typical if we're calling them problem behaviors that I see, I've been a paraprofessional for many years in these teen talk classes. Several of my students have had trouble sitting for long times, transitioning from one thing to another. It's when he returned from our holiday break that he has picked up kind of a rather problematic concern of spitting, which is just disgusting. I think he sees it on my face all the time, just this disgust. But if we're gonna have to list it, he does get up when he's not supposed to in inappropriate times. He does raise his voice louder than what is expected for the answering questions, or if he gets upset. I I am not certain whether he's aware of that or not, whether he's using that outside voice maliciously. Um, we also have some issues with tapping his fingers when he's getting nervous or bored, or I haven't figured it out exactly yet, but he does tap his fingers. Um, and I guess that one's not as problematic, it's just it annoys some of his neighbors.
And what would you say is the single most concerning of the problem behaviors?
Oh, the big one, if we were to label the big one, it would be the spitting. Everything else I have handled before and we've got it kind of down, but the spitting is not just it's not just a problematic behavior, it's one that's unsanitary and it's going to cause issues in a public school setting.
Okay. And what would you say are the top three most concerning of all the behaviors?
Oh, so you asked the top one and then the top three. Well, the spitting is the top one. Um, I would say I mean, I'm using the phrase raising the voice, but at times it gets to be like a kind of high pitched squeal of no. And that one's probably the second one, in my opinion. Um, and the third one I have not seen since the fall semester, but when he was getting really upset, he would get out of his chair and run to the corner of the classroom and just stand there. But he was getting up and it made a scene that everyone could see.
Okay. Um, so if you just describe like the intensity of the behaviors, is there any that you think that are like a high range of maybe hurting himself or other kids in the classroom?
No, I don't. Well, let me rephrase. He is not intentionally kicking, hitting, biting, but I guess it depends on how you interpret hurting. I'm saying with quotation marks because the spitting is not sanitary. It can cause issues if he is sick or something. Um, so it's all in how you interpret that, but he is not harming himself or others purposefully or not purposefully.
Do the problem behaviors they tend to occur like in bursts or in clusters? And is there any like behaviors that happen before the behavior occurs?
Um, I mean, now that you've asked it, I have noticed that especially the spitting, if he spits early in the day, he's going to spit more that day. It's like one of the spitting days. I don't know how to describe it, but they kind of happen in that type of burst. It's like it just occurred to him that he can use this against us to get his way.
And when you see those behaviors, what's happening with the conditions and situations that these behaviors are most likely to occur?
Um, can you reword the conditions, like what causes them or what
Yeah.
triggers
So, like,
them?
what happens before the behaviors occur?
Oh, okay. We mostly see the most problematic of behaviors when he is asked to do something, either he did a non-preferred activity or leaving a preferred activity. Absolutely. It is where the teacher and I have been working trying to find out whether these behaviors are, I'm going to use the word malicious, but not in like an evil way, purposeful or not. And I do believe fully that the spitting is a purposeful, I don't want to do this action. But that's my interpretation of this. I'm going to leave it up to the professionals here.
Okay. Do they happen like reliably during any particular times?
Not not lately. I'm usually going to see some form of problematic behavior if he is asked to leave the marbles or leave the kinetic sand, especially on Wednesdays, because he goes straight from his the marble time, which is like a kind of break time for several of the kids, to reading, which is one of his least preferred activities. So it's practically just taking him out of heaven and throwing him straight into his version of hell. So that is 100% going to get some problematic behavior if it's running away, if it's screaming, no, I'm not going to, or lately if it's the spitting issue.
Okay. And what seems to trigger the problem behaviors?
The moving from non-preferred activity or from preferred activity to non-preferred activity and vice versa. I don't know. I just think that he's really upset. He's angry.
Do the problem behaviors occur when you break up routines or interrupt activities?
Um, somewhat. I've had kids before that if, say, we have a fire drill that day, we have to prepare them way ahead of time. And even if we prepare them, they still have a complete breakdown, just full of behaviors if the routine gets off. I wouldn't say that Kyle is exactly like that. He can adjust, especially for things that are not that are planned for. If there's something that is unplanned, the when was it? It was like 4 weeks ago, maybe. It was his turn to get the iPad, and he was going to play one of his favorite games, learning some of the math problems, and the Wi-Fi completely went out. And that triggered a huge meltdown, one that I haven't seen from him since the start of the year. Um, because I mean, I do understand why he was that upset. I would have been that upset too. But he was unable to console himself. We did end up having to call his parents, and he did have to wait outside for a while for them to come, just because we gave it all of our shots here, and it was even an hour later, and he was unable to break himself out of that fit.
Does the behavior occur when it appears that they won't get their way? So with Kyle's get his way, does this behavior happens?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that's probably the biggest trigger is he wants to do it this way. We say no, or no, he's not allowed to, or there are other children in this classroom and he is not the main focus, and he triggers all of these bad behaviors. I understand that he's got his diagnoses, which doesn't help. If he was a typical child, I would just consider it just plain spoiled. But I know
When these behaviors occur, how do you and the teachers and other students respond?
um for me and Miss Tanya, we tend to ignore it. Unless he's in some way, shape, or form going to do some kind of harm. The students, as the year is progressing, because they're getting older and they're starting to be blooming preteens, they're starting to notice, I think, that he does that he acts very immature for his age, especially the girls. They have noticed, and they don't want to hang next to him. I believe it was one of the girls. I'm not going to mention her name. Just like 2 days ago, Kyle was being rather loud, saying no, and she was the one that stood up and said, "Will you just shut up?" And we did have to talk to her too about the situation. But I am noticing that the fellow students are noticing that this is not the appropriate way of doing things. Now, again, we've been ignoring the behaviors because that is what we have been told to do. I don't know if that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing in this instance, though, because he is 9 now. We'll see.
What do you and Miss Tanya do to help him calm him down when he engages in the behaviors?
It depends on when the behaviors occur. So if it's time to put up the iPad and he, um, starts spitting and stuff, no, the iPad is still going up. He doesn't just get his way because of that. However, if there's any possibility of him sitting in a quiet area or utilizing, we have some of our these earmuff headphones. We have hand objects for him to use if he starts feeling overstimulated. We did have to take one of them away because one of the other kids said something not kind and he threw it at him. So we have to use very specific ones that he knows he's not supposed to throw. Um, let's see. We've tried to do breathing and countdown, but I have noticed that just makes him more angry. Being told to calm down, which is another one of those things that I can actually understand as well, because when I'm upset and angry and somebody says just calm down, I get more upset and angry. So, yeah.
What do you and others in the classroom do to distract him from engaging in the behaviors?
Again, we try to put him in an area that maybe he's in the back of the room so the other students aren't as um, bothered by some of his behaviors. He's got his own little cool down area in the back that it's not his cool down area. I actually have other students that use it as well. Um, if if it is time appropriate. If it gets bad enough and the spitting is getting bad, then we will ask him to sit outside in the hallway with me. And if it gets even worse, then he will have to sit in the principal's office.
Okay. I've got a few more questions for you today. What do you think what do you think Kyle's trying to communicate when he engages in these behaviors?
Personally, I think it's I don't want to do that. Um, I don't want to read too much into this child's mind because I know him a lot, but I don't know him as well as his parents or who who he is as a person. I do have other students. I've got 5 in a little cluster that I am very close with. And just based on what I experience in a classroom, it does seem to be very like communicating, I don't want to do that. Or no, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do my damnedest to not have to do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense. Do you think any of his problem behaviors is a form of self-stimulation?
Self-stimulation. Give me a second to think about that. I don't know if I can ask this question. When you say self-stimulation,
Does it do it? Is it because he like enjoys just the feeling of the behavior? If the behavior just calms him down?
okay. And so he is not, I don't believe that is that. No. Um, I truly think that it is more of an anger situation.
Okay.
If anything, perhaps some of the behaviors like the tapping maybe can be a calming situation. We don't have any issues with him publicly touching himself, if that's what this is meaning. I'm not understanding the question fully.
All right, yeah, just yeah, those answers. You just mostly just were looking to make sure it's not like something that he's doing more like just because he wants to do it for himself and not trying to communicate something else.
I mean, the tapping may truly be he's stressed out, he's bored. But the other things are very either intentional or he is in a haze of anger.
And why do you think that he's engaging in the behaviors?
I'm truly thinking that he has a lot of anger. He has a lot of emotions and probably just doesn't understand fully how to express them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today. You gave me a lot of information. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will start looking into all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Take care.